Good afternoon. Kind of cool. Literally 2 weeks from today, to the minute, to the hour, be able to see exactly where we're at going into that Wyoming game. So today we actually had practice that was kind of a resemblance of a Thursday practice. We did it a week ago, but this week we really did it. Then we'll go through a little tomorrow, kind of a Friday routine for what we normally do, even though it's on a Sunday. And then Monday will be our most basically live approach to what a game day will be like. We'll have a move the ball scrimmage, do a lot of situational football, do all four phases of the kicking game, as well as field goal and field goal blocks. So we'll really get a lot of good work on Monday. Couldn't be more excited about just the way our guys have approached the first 2 weeks. Just an update on the roster, really. And in my entire career, so when they implemented the 110 rule, which basically means you can only invite 110 guys to camp, I have a roster that ranges from 118 to 120. We had to come up with a 110 roster, and literally 2 days ago was the first time I've had to make a substitution. Luke Ford isn't able to practice with us for the next week, but he should be back with us if everything goes forward on the Sunday of game week when we start classes, and that allows us to jump our roster back up to 118. So brought Trenelia in today, but really that's the only alteration to the roster that we've had to have the whole time. So I'm excited that we've stayed pretty healthy. Guys have had some bang-ups, some injuries in between there, but for the most part we've had no issues with anybody of such substance that is going to be anything. The only guy coming into camp was Sean Miller, who had a shoulder, and then T-Raw actually had more work today. He hasn't been fully clear, but T-Raw worked with us today as full as he's ever been, and expect him to join us full capacity next week as well. So coming into it as healthy as we can 2 weeks out, and we'll see. The one thing I probably can complain about, and a lot of people probably don't want to hear it, is I wish the weather was a little warmer, a little more realistic of this time, and especially what it could be in the opener against Wyoming, and obviously the weeks preceding that. So, of course, on the back end of it, I'll be complaining in November that I wish it was warmer as well. So a little bit of give and take. But I know we're on a limited window, so open it up for some questions.
Can you provide any more clarity on is Luke's an injury?
Yeah, he's a medical situation that he just, if all goes well and everything stays to plan, there shouldn't be any issue with him being back with us. I had a conversation with him yesterday, but the way the numbers work out, if we have, if we dip down like we're doing Luke, like Friday we did, basically about maybe a quarter of our practice was all Wyoming preparation, and for us to do that, we need to have look team members. We need to have guys that simulate. That's why we need our maximum roster.
Bret, you talked about Matthew Bailey the other day, and that's really nice things to say about him. Is he a guy that really impresses and could potentially see some time this year?
Yeah, it's last night we were in Sullivan, Illinois. I was with Josh at a quarterback club, and on the way back from there, I had uploaded some video because I wasn't able to watch it, and I was watching our number twos, and out there on the field, Matt Bailey was at safety. We had two other freshman corners on the field at the same time, and in reality, there were guys that were probably the latter additions to our signing class, and Matt champions that moment. He's a guy that, since he's arrived, has been very, very easy to coach. His football IQ, his presence, his awareness. A lot of our guys, I'm not trying to tag him with a nickname, but a lot of our guys call him Sid 2.0. Just kind of the personality, demeanor, behavior, a lot of the traits that Sidney has that you can see in Matt, and excited where he is at this point.
Coach, obviously you said that you were planning to apply for a waiver for Solo Turner. Can you evaluate the process?
Yeah, good call out. So there hasn't been any change for Solo. It hasn't become official yet, but we're still trying to make an appeal for him. I think as long as it's gone on, I'm not feeling great about the situation, but for what Solo brings and through practice, he had a nice pick the other day. Just an incredibly blessed moment for him to join us, right? Like, kind of came out of nowhere. He was at Hawaii, been at Baylor before that, so we're kind of working through the process there, but I'm really excited to have him on our roster.
Another freshman that looks really impressive, Gabe Jockus. Can you comment on how he's coming along?
Gabe Jockus, yes. Gabe is just literally approved every day. I showed a play the other day in 7-on-7, actually it was 9-on-7, where he was the edge of our defense, and he actually made a tackle for loss. But was by the hair of his chin. I put it up for vote. I said, how many guys think he'd make this play? All the defensive guys raised their hand. All the guys that were watching running back bounce the play, they all thought he was going to outrun it. So But I did show him a lot of times on the end man line of scrimmage, if you open your hips and go flat, you'll make the play every time versus try to go up the field. And literally the next day, the same situation came up and he flattened his hips and ran down the line of scrimmage. It was just like textbook. So like it really just, it's everything Kevin Kane has said in working with him. Any detail you give him, he gets it right. But today was kind of a classic example. The way today's practice would work, we would go two periods of football, then a period of special teams, 2 periods of football, and then a period of special teams, and it kind of rotates that way. And Gabe just had concentrated on football, but we were working on our kick cover unit, and he wasn't out there, and he was down on the other end of the field, and so I waited for him to jog all the way down, kind of get embarrassed in front of everybody. As soon as he got there, I put the other guy in and let the drill go. So he just kind of had to learn that moment, which is for a reason. And I couldn't say enough good things about him, especially. Him and Matt Bailey would probably be the 2 leading candidates for freshmen to play on defense for sure.
Bret, the other day you said you got a man crush on your coordinators. Why is that with both those guys, and how important is that to have that confidence in?
Well, Ryan obviously has been with us for a year, and I just continually see the little details of what he does on a daily basis, not just X's and O's like a lot of people think of coordinators, that they're and they do have a huge responsibility of X's and O's, but Ryan, the way he handles our staff, the way he handles our players, the way he handles recruiting, just personal interactions. A lot of times I'll have coordinator meetings, it'll be just me, Barry, and Sean now, and just Ryan really knows when to add to a conversation, but like sometimes I'll ask him for input or thoughts, and he'll literally say, hey, I don't think I know enough at that moment, I'm going to stay reserved and pull out of this conversation. And to have that presence and aware, a lot of people in that position love to hear themselves talk, and Ryan's the exact opposite. Barry, I'm sure some of you probably saw, we've done a lot of videos welcoming our guys that potentially could be coming here in the future. A new NCAA rule allows us to do that, and Bielema had a hat on that was a little jacked up, so I quickly sent that in a text message to our football staff, and I said, can we get him a hat that doesn't look like he's asking for change at the stoplight, and I really wanted to zing him in front of the crew because he's got that dry sense of humor, and his input, his impact on our players, his impact on our staff, has really been dramatic. I would say that, I know a lot of you are just waiting to ask the quarterback question. I would say that Art and Tommy probably have had the most complete week of, for sure, the last 2 weeks of practice since I've been here. Art has really, been really good here the last, 5-6 days. I think that arm's feeling better than ever, and Tommy has really continued to process how we want to play the game and go through the adjustments he had, and I give that all the credit in the world to Barry.
We talk a lot about Barry teaching his system to the players, but it may be a different teaching strategy to teach veteran coaches.
Yeah.
What have you seen in his ability to do that?
Barry's a very selfless person, right? It's never about Barry Lunny. He's always about the team. I think he grew up in a home, right, with his dad as a Hall of Fame legend coach. It's about the people around you that are important, and Barry demonstrates that on a daily basis. He did mention that his son was in youth football as a backup quarterback. He didn't have a problem with it, but Janelle did. I think he always defers to his family life, which makes him very human. He gave a talk in front of our players at the beginning of camp. I let our coordinators start it off, and just the humility that he presented himself with, but also a lot of kids didn't know his background, his history, how much he'd accomplished as a player, but also the adversity that he faced. He talked about, some of you may or may not know his history. He was a multi-year starter, was benched at the beginning of the year, put in and replaced, and then was called upon in that first game to come back, and it was not a great situation, the result, and he was faced with a tough moment, and they went on to win the SEC. The guy has just battled through perseverance, and I think our coaches can relate that too. Like Barry Lunny had a tremendous effect, I think, on Bart Miller. He has a tremendous effect on Gio. I think he had a great rapport right away with. He was a high school coach, and Corey Patterson was a high school coach, so that automatically bonded up there together. Just his ability to communicate and work with people of all ages is pretty good.
Coach, this time of year, everybody's making their predictions. What does progress look like to you this year?
Well, I can't say for sure, right? But if you ask any of our players about predictions, they probably won't give you one today, just because I think they follow the model of what I believe in. Like, the only thing you can do is control tomorrow, and I do think we're a better football team than we were going into fall camp a year ago. Offense, defense, special teams. I don't know if that's going to correlate into more wins. I think their expectations and the understanding of what we're saying as coaches is at a higher level. I think there's a buzz in that building that in the Smith Center that they know where they're at. They begin to feel and understand the way they can play, and I'm excited to see it. As far as predictions, or I leave that to the outside world. I've said all the time in my coaching career, and this was at one point when we were being picked to play first in our division versus last year where I think we were 14 out of 14 by certain people in the conference, and my expectation will always be the same, and my prediction will always be the same. We're going to try to get better every day.
Coach, your group of transfers that you have coming in, a lot of them have long winding paths to ending up at Illinois, whether it's going to smaller schools, moving around a lot. What does it say about their perseverance as a group, as a whole, as transfers? I know they're all different, but to end up here after a long winding road.
So the Smith Center, the way it lays out, my office sits on the corner there, and I can literally watch our guys come and go every day. They park over at State Farm and walk. Well, the ones that park legally, some of them tend to park illegally in meters they shouldn't. But I a lot of times get to watch the bodies. And when I say that, I like to watch the interaction. I see who walks in together, who walks out together, how they're interacting. And this morning I was sitting up there early morning having a cup of coffee, kind of got up for a minute. I looked outside and I saw Dylan Davis walking with Cody Case, right? So two transfers that had never known each other until literally the latter part of summer, because both of them came in late. And the way they were laughing and carrying on, like I don't know what they were talking about, but two completely different kids. Dylan's from Florida, Cody's from small town Iowa. They both play offense, so I don't know if it was something going on about offense, but there was a genuine interaction there that was sincere and real, and I think that part's, for me, very, very awesome to watch. I thought Jonah Miller, probably the last 3 or 4 days, has had his best performances. I'm not saying he's by any means, proven himself or set himself in a mode, but like he's definitely grown, and I think that's because he's around players that have shown him what he needs to do a better job, and that goes on all over the place, and that probably gets me excited. I think this portal world, if you use it correctly and try to do your due diligence, you can really try to help your roster in a short amount of time.
I know. Any idea how many married players you've had?
How many married players I've had?
Tim's married, right?
I don't even.
Quite a few, or is it pretty rare?
Yeah, I don't. That's great. I have no idea. I would be lying if I told you. I think there's.
Is Tip different because he's married, or do you sense some more mature?
I think Tip is. It's a great question. I think Tip feels better now that he's married. Like he comes in and talks to me all the time about coaches and married being great. I go, absolutely. Tip. And I just think he, for him and who he is and where he's at that moment, like it helps him kind of solidify himself a little bit, and he's definitely playing really good football. I think certain guys, V actually got married after we came here, right? But I always used to tell pro scouts when they came in, when I came in and met Vidarian Lowe, I think everybody should strive to be a little bit like V, right? Like he was married to a woman that he hadn't even married her at that point, but he had 2 kids because he loved her, right? He adopted his little brother because of the situation they were in, and he literally would come and tell me, he goes, Coach, can I get out of here in time to go help my wife while she gets a chance to go to the grocery store, and then I'll be back for meetings. Like just the maturity that he had. So I think a lot of kids, especially early in their life, I know I wasn't ready, right? That's why I waited. Some guys aren't really set for that moment, but I think for sure Luke is, or Tip is. There was no doubt in my mind he was.
Ryan and JMO both spoken highly of Calvin through camp. Just
Oh,
when
yeah.
did you maybe notice that he had taken maybe another step, or had kind of
I'm not a big we don't have camp weights they got to come in at. I've never literally had that as a coach. I think you got to understand, we do a lot of testing. We do a lot of basically technology, Tank and his crew, to work on what we feel a player's ideal weight would be at, and Calvin just gradually began to descend down to the weight that we see him at today, and he's literally in a better place. On Monday he had a scrimmage. It was pretty impressive. Just to be fully transparent, he did get dinged up the other day and hasn't been able to practice the last 2 days, but will be cleared and ready to go. He's only out for 3 or 4 days, right? So if somebody's out for an extended period of time, then we sub them out on the roster. But Calvin should be back with us sometime mid next week, and I'm excited to get where he can go, because he truly when he's playing the way he's capable of playing, he can be a player that's very disruptive.
Did you need him to maybe
Step
become
forward? Of course we need good players to step forward. And the thing I kept challenging him with, I coach defensive line in the league, right? And I would tell him, like, there's guys that are like you that, definitely have the same characteristics and traits and athleticism you have, but you got to decide if you want to play at that level with consistency. And I think Calvin's taking a step in the right direction. I think his teammates have to feel that same way, right? And definitely his coaches. But yeah, I'm excited where it's trending.
Brett, in the first 2 weeks of practice, have you maybe seen the biggest improvement from your team?
In the first 2 weeks, it's really the communication. It really, truly is. I know it sounds like that's probably not the answer everybody wants, but like when I say something, I think it really, truly is understood, right? I talk to our players a lot of times. Anybody can regurgitate our words, right? As coaches, my guess is when you guys get done interviewing them today, I'll read the press clippings tomorrow, and Brett will put a note in my box, and he'll give me examples of things guys say, good, bad, indifferent. And my guess is they'll say a lot of things we say as coaches. But anybody can just say things. It's whether or not they believe them. And I just see so many things that what we say and what we talk about become reality without us really stressing about it. And what really becomes transparent to me is when we see our players enforce those things to new players, right? And people that haven't been in our program, they understand what tough, smart, dependable means. They understand to be the best you. They understand, the facets of what we built this program on and what we're trying to strive for. Just a simple thing. We talk a lot about situational football. And Josh has afforded us, like I'm sure you see that grass field is nice. We also have a new clock system for us that has allowed us to play situational football at an unprecedented level. I can literally say, hey, give me 16 seconds on the clock. I did it today 3 times. That wasn't scripted, where I could say, hey, give me 28 on the clock, end of game scenario or end of half. And because of the structure around us, it's allowing us to practice at a higher level of performance. And all those little things, our program is just in a better state to accomplish what it needs to win football games than ever before.
I got a question about special teams. Kickoff return last year.
Yeah.
So 3 total kickoff returns, 18 fair catches. Fewest in the league. I was looking at the stats today. Appalachian State returned 42. They were running them out from 6 yards deep. What's your philosophy on that? Obviously, the fewest in the nation that's intentional to do a fair catch. What's your philosophy on kickoff return?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, twofold. I think that to establish a kickoff return philosophy, you have to gauge it off your kick returner, right? And last year we had several guys back there. I just didn't know if we had ourselves in a position that we could affect the game in a positive light. So if you catch the ball inside, let's say the 5-yard line and back, you're guaranteed to get the football. You're guaranteed a 20-yard return. Even your best kickoff return units last year aren't averaging much over 20 yards, right? So to catch the ball on the 4-yard line and assume you're going to have a great return and get it to 24, you're still a yard shorter than you were if you had just signaled for a fair catch. On the flip side of it, on a couple of returns that we did have, we had penalties, right? So not only now did we return the football, we didn't get it to 25. Now we're also set back because of a penalty. So we weren't in a position last year, in my opinion, to wager enough leverage to say that we can catch the ball inside the 10-yard line, basically inside the 5, and get it to advance past the 25 with any type of consistency to give our offense a chance to be successful. If you start a possession inside a 20-yard line, you have a 1 in 30 chance of scoring. 1 in 30. And that's the thing that I have to overcome, right? Like for me, to guarantee we're going to have the ball past the 20-yard line by doing it ourselves was not in the best order of our business compared to just fair catch and taking the ball on 25. That's what it is. This year, obviously, I think we do have some dynamic return guys. I do think we have a special teams coach who he and I kind of got together on the same page and excited about where we're at. Where that plays out depends a little bit upon our game week preparation, but also who we have back there and who we're playing.
Last one here.
Can you just walk me through the reaction when Zai jumped on board with you guys, like when he called you to let you know he was
Zai
in?
Chrysler?
Yeah, do you remember kind of how you reacted to that?
That was a weird, I don't know if there was one exact moment because we were kind of waiting on NCAA clearance. The question was about Zai Chrysler. So Zai was a full qualifier out of high school, right? And we found that out through one of our bye weeks. I flew to his junior college. We were actually recruiting another offensive lineman. The offensive line coach at that time said, hey, this other kid's pretty good. I said, let me meet him. So I met Zy. He was in the office. Quick shook his hand, but I was under the impression that he had another year in junior college before he could come out and get his AA. Well, the way the things proceeded and happened, that offensive tackle we were recruiting, we never got him on campus. He had an official visit set. The powers that came, he went a little south, we'll say. And then, I followed up on Zy, and then they're like, Coach, I believe he's a full qualifier. Well, we checked NCAA, and the powers that be hadn't labeled him as that, so we went through a filing system through our university and the people. Actually, a lot of people started calling us because they knew he came on an official visit, so they were looking out for us, telling us that we were visiting a prospect that couldn't be on campus because he was a non-qualifier, and we quickly said, let us do our job, you do your job, right? All of this was taking place during kind of a dead period, so I just continued to press and move forward. I remember Zy, the way it kind of worked out, Zy was actually in transition to be here. He was already on campus, and we flew down to his home and met. We'd met Mom, but we hadn't met everybody, and that whole town came out. I think I told you the story, right? The mayor came out. So I don't know if there was ever that one moment. Zy had told me several times, I'm coming, but there was a lot of people who were trying to get in play at the last second, so I don't know if there was that one defining moment of high fives for everybody. But I would tell you, Zy always comes by me every day. He'll give me a little dap. I thought he had an incredible pull in an inside drill the other day, and I kind of made a big deal about it. He's really playing at a high level. He's just scratching the surface of what he's going to be. He's a guy that's come down from about 360, a little over 360. Now he's in the 335 range. So his body is dramatically changed, and I think just scratching the surface of what he's going to be.